at the Mafia's table. Yet somehow, he managed to challenge one of America's most powerful organized crime networks and live to tell the story, at least for a while. Most documentaries focus on the bombings, the gunfights, and the violent ending. But today, we're uncovering the hidden side of Danny Greene, the facts that rarely make it into the movies. These are 12 unknown facts about the Irishman that reveal why he became one of the most fascinating figures in American organized crime history. Let's begin. Fact number 1. Danny Greene didn't just love Ireland. He tried to become its warrior. For Danny Greene, being Irish wasn't simply a matter of heritage. It became his identity. Friends, associates, and investigators all noticed the same thing. Greene immersed himself in Irish history. He read about ancient Celtic warriors, studied Irish revolutionary leaders, and admired those who fought against powerful enemies despite overwhelming odds. To Greene, these weren't just stories from the past. They were blueprints. He often compared himself to Irish freedom fighters who challenged larger forces. In his own mind, his battle against Cleveland's Mafia wasn't merely a criminal feud. It was a war for respect, survival, and independence. He dressed to match the image. Green jackets, Irish-themed jewelry, Celtic symbols, even his conversations reflected this obsession. He frequently quoted Irish history and spoke with the confidence of someone who believed he had a greater purpose. Whether people admired him or feared him, Greene carefully built the image of a fearless Irish warrior standing alone against an empire. And surprisingly, it worked. Fact number 2. Danny Greene created his own legend. Most mobsters avoided attention. Danny Greene welcomed it. When enemies planted a bomb outside his apartment, the explosion ripped through the building with enough force to destroy much of the property. Most people would have disappeared into hiding. Greene did the exact opposite, spread throughout Cleveland that Danny Greene simply couldn't be killed. Of course, he wasn't invincible. But perception can be just as powerful as reality. Greene understood that better than almost anyone. He realized that fear wasn't created only with violence. Sometimes, it was created with confidence. Fact number 3. His difficult childhood shaped everything. Long before Danny Greene became one of America's most talked-about gangsters, he experienced tragedy. His mother died shortly after giving birth to him. His father struggled with alcoholism and couldn't provide the stable home every child needs. As a result, young Danny spent part of his childhood in an orphanage before eventually being raised by relatives. Those early years left deep emotional scars. People who knew Greene later in life often described him as fiercely independent. He trusted very few people. He hated showing weakness. And once someone earned his loyalty, he expected complete loyalty in return. Historians believe those experiences may explain why Greene constantly sought control over every aspect of his life. He wasn't simply chasing money, he was chasing power, because power meant never being vulnerable again. It was a lesson he carried with him for the rest of his life, and eventually, it would place him on a collision course with the Mafia itself. Fact number 4. He may have been playing both sides. If there is one mystery that continues to divide historians and organized crime experts, it's this. Was Danny Greene secretly working with the FBI? For years, rumors circulated that Greene had a relationship with federal investigators. Some believed he passed along information about rival mob figures whenever it benefited him. Others argue he simply manipulated law enforcement while protecting his own interests. The truth has never been fully settled. What is clear is that Greene seemed to escape legal trouble far more often than many. Fact number 5. The Marine who never lost his confidence. Before he became one of Cleveland's most infamous gangsters, Danny Greene served in the United States Marine Corps. The experience helped shape the man he would become. The Marines taught discipline, physical endurance, and the importance of projecting confidence under pressure. Those who crossed paths with Greene often noticed that he rarely appeared intimidated, even when facing overwhelming odds. Whether standing before a courtroom, confronting rival gangsters, or speaking to reporters after another bombing, he carried himself with remarkable composure. It wasn't just courage, it was calculated. Greene understood that confidence could intimidate opponents long before a single word was spoken. Fact number 6. The bombings that shook an entire city. By the mid-1970s, Cleveland had become one of the most dangerous battlegrounds in organized crime. Car bombs became terrifyingly common. Restaurants, parking lots, apartment buildings, businesses. Explosions echoed across the city as rival factions fought for control. The violence became so frequent that Cleveland earned an infamous reputation as America's bomb city. Danny Greene stood at the center of much of that conflict. Each failed attempt on his life only fueled his legend. People began asking the same question: how many times can one man cheat death? No one knew the answer, but everyone knew another explosion was probably only days away. Fact number 7. The story behind the Jimmy Hoffa warning. As Danny Greene's influence grew, so did the stories surrounding him. One of the most enduring involves the powerful labor leader Jimmy Hoffa. According to organized crime accounts, Greene was introduced to Hoffa through union connections. After meeting him, Hoffa is said to have quietly warned those around him, "Stay away from that guy." Whether those exact words were ever spoken can't be confirmed, but the story has survived for decades because it captures how Greene was perceived. He wasn't loud in the way many gangsters were. He was unpredictable. People never seemed quite sure what he would do next. Even seasoned union officials and experienced mob figures reportedly viewed him as someone capable of changing the rules without warning. That reputation became one of his greatest weapons, because in organized crime, being unpredictable can be more dangerous than being powerful. Fact number 8. Loyalty was everything. Danny Greene lived by a simple rule. Loyalty wasn't negotiable. Those who stood beside him during difficult times often found themselves rewarded with trust and protection, but those who betrayed him rarely received a second chance. Greene believed betrayal was the greatest weakness in organized crime. Money could be replaced, businesses could be rebuilt, but trust, once broken, could never truly return. This rigid code shaped nearly every relationship he had. Friends became lifelong allies. Enemies became permanent enemies. There was almost no middle ground. That uncompromising mindset earned him fierce loyalty from some and dangerous hatred from others. Fact number 9. His greatest weapon was fear. Many people assume Danny Greene's greatest strength was violence. It wasn't. His greatest weapon was psychology. Every assassination attempt that failed made him seem larger than life. Every bomb that exploded without killing him strengthened the myth. Soon, people weren't just talking about Danny Greene. They were talking about whether he could even be killed. Some whispered that he had supernatural luck. Others called it the luck of the Irish. Greene never rushed to correct those rumors. If people believed he was untouchable, why stop them? Because fear doesn't always come from what someone does. Sometimes, it comes from what people believe they can do. Fact number 10. The bomb that finally ended the legend. For years, Danny Greene escaped death. Bomb after bomb, attempt after attempt. But legends don't last forever. On October 6, 1977, Greene walked toward his car after visiting a doctor's office in Lyndhurst, Ohio. Hidden nearby was a powerful explosive device. As Greene approached his vehicle, the bomb detonated. The explosion could be heard for blocks. This time, there would be no miraculous escape. The man who had survived so many attempts was finally gone. He was just 43 years old. Ironically, the Mafia had won the battle, but they were about to lose something much bigger. Fact number 11. His death opened Pandora's box. The people responsible believed Greene's death would end the war. Instead, it sparked one of the most important organized crime investigations in Ohio history. Federal agents began connecting pieces that had remained hidden for years. Phone records, witness statements, bomb-making operations, financial connections. Investigators uncovered cooperation between mafia figures from Cleveland and other major cities, exposing criminal networks that stretched far beyond Ohio. Several organized crime figures were eventually prosecuted as authorities unraveled the conspiracy. In trying to eliminate one man, the Mafia had exposed itself. Fact number 12. Why Danny Greene still fascinates people today. Nearly 5 decades after his death, Danny Greene remains one of the most debated figures in American organized crime. To law enforcement, he was a violent criminal. To the Mafia, he was a relentless rival who refused to accept their authority. To many people in Cleveland, he became something else entirely, a symbol of defiance. A man who stood against impossible odds. His life has inspired books, documentaries, and the feature film Kill the Irishman, ensuring that his story continues to reach new audiences. But perhaps the greatest reason Danny Greene is remembered isn't because of how he lived, or even how he died. It's because he proved that one determined outsider, with enough courage, confidence, and recklessness, could shake one of America's most powerful criminal organizations. Whether history remembers him as a villain, an anti-hero, or simply a man consumed by ambition, one thing is certain. Danny Greene refused to live in anyone else's shadow, and even today, the legend of the Irishman refuses to fade. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the Mob Vault for more untold mafia stories, organized crime history, and the hidden lives of the world's most infamous gangsters. And tell us in the comments, which mob legend should we uncover next?